Hello, benchwarmers, and welcome to Boom and Bust Week 4 edition. Solid week. Kinda like the noon games, I liked a lot. 3 o'clock and 3:30 games, they were okay. But Thursday night, Broncos versus Jets. Brett Rippon versus Sam Darnold. Melvin Gordon was the boom. He had 107 rushes and 2 rushing touchdowns. That's pretty good. And the bust is Adam Gase. Fire that man. Fire Adam Gase. Just why do you still have him? I saw on Good Morning Football, they were like, oh, why would you fire him at this point? How much better is it really going to get? You're going to get Greg Williams? Oh, well, look at the defense. It's been terrible. And it's like, I just think back to, look at Greg Williams as the interim head coach of the Browns after Hugh Jackson was fired. He was doing really well. He brought them to 6 more wins, which was way more than Hugh Jackson had. And he didn't even have a full season to work with. So they might have even done better. Then there was Vikings and Texans. Boom was Dalvin Cook, 130 rushing, 2 rushing touchdowns. It's obviously pretty good. And bust is the Texans rushing. They had 96 yards total. That's 4 guys, basically, I think. 3 guys. I saw 3 guys listed, and they had 96 altogether, and Deshaun Watson was one of those 3. And zero rushing touchdowns. And when rushing is your problem, and you traded for David Johnson and trading away DeAndre Hopkins, oh man, they really need to fire Bill O'Brien. They did fire Bill O'Brien. It has been done! They fired the madman. Thank God. Like, I like the Texans a lot, and I don't like Bill O'Brien. He's an idiot. He had too much control, and when I saw that he was going to be taking over play calling too, I'm like, oh God, because he doesn't have enough control? You freaking kidding me? Ravens versus Washington. Boom was Mark Andrews. He had 3 receptions, 57 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's way better than he was last week. He basically disappeared last week. He had stone hands last week. He kept dropping the balls. It was really hard to watch. Very frustrating for me. Bust was the Washington defense. Honestly, Washington, they didn't do terrible. Probably some bad decisions on Dwayne Haskins. I could probably put that. But overall, it's like they're going against the Ravens defense. They don't have, or Ravens offense. They don't have a top tier defense. They've got a decent line, but I think Chase Young was hurt. Chargers versus Buccaneers. This was a good game, and I'm very disappointed that the Chargers lost because they so close. But boom, Justin Herbert, 290 passing yards, pretty good. And 3 passing touchdowns, but 1 interception. The reason he's the boom is he did way better than I expected him to do against the Bucs defense. Buccaneers have a good defense, so I was not expecting that. Bust was the Chargers' rushing attack. They had 46 total rushing yards. That's really bad. I know Eckler got hurt, but Justin Herbert was their lead rusher. That's not good. You're supposed to have a good rushing attack. Bet you wish you had Melvin Gordon. But Seahawks versus Dolphins. Boom. Russell Wilson again. 390 yards and 2 touchdowns, but 1 interception. This game was a lot closer than I expected, than anybody expected. Should have been a blowout. Should have been another 5 touchdowns for Russell Wilson. And should have been more than 2 receptions for Tyler Lockett, who was our bust of the week. 2 receptions, 39 yards. Now, he had a couple drops. And, 39 yards out of 2 receptions, that's a pretty good average. But after the week you had last week, they got a lot of weapons, but I'm just disappointed that Lockett didn't do very well. He's on my fantasy team. Salt. I'm very salty. Saints versus Lions. Boom was Traquan Smith, 4 receptions, 54 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I don't even know who Traquan Smith is. I just was looking up stats in the game, and I was like, oh my God, who's this guy? Apparently he's really, really good. Well, not necessarily, but he might be Drew Brees' target until, other than Kamara, until Michael Thomas comes back. Now, they're a team that can spread it around too, but the bust was the Lions blowing another lead. They 21 unanswered points in the second quarter alone. And I think they scored another 7 in the third quarter. Then the Lions finally answered there. But the Lions, they got up to an early lead. It was like, oh my God. Why are the Lions all of a sudden, man, the Saints suck. And then the Saints are like, wait a minute, we're the Saints. We have Drew Brees. We have Alvin Kamara. Who gives a shit if we don't have Michael Thomas? We're the Saints. And they decided to flip the switch. Browns versus Cowboys. Boom was Odell. After not existing for the past 3 weeks, 73 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, 5 receptions, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And one of them thrown by Jarvis Landry. He went off. And the bust was Ezekiel Elliott. He was kind of non-existent in this game. 54 yards, no touchdowns. He's kind of there. Jaguars versus Bengals. Boom was Joe Mixon, 151 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 6 receptions for 30 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. He did really well. He carried that team over the Jags defense. I mean, I'm sure Joe Burrow would have done it too, but that defense is terrible, which is the bust. Jags defense, the Jags offense is doing everything they can. Last week against the Dolphins, Minshew definitely struggled a bit, but he still did okay. But man, that defense, I mean, you gotta expect it to be bad. Who do they have from 2017 still? Miles Jack? Anybody else? They sold everybody else. They sold and cut everybody else. They're just rebuilding the defense this year, and I just hope that they don't get Trevor Lawrence, because Minshew's doing well. They just need to help him out on the other side of the ball. Cardinals versus Panthers. Boom. Teddy Bridgewater, 276 passing yards, which is okay. It's pretty good. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 32 rushing touchdowns, 32 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. That's not bad. That's pretty good for a guy that obliterated his knee just a couple years ago. Good comeback story there. But bust is Kyler Murray as a quarterback. He had 3 passing touchdowns, but only 133 passing yards. Isn't this an air raid offense? And look at those weapons. How do you only have 133 passing yards against the Panthers defense, they've all rookies, I'm pretty sure. They went all rookies in the draft because everybody else retired or left. Kyler Murray, he's a little iffy on me. I'm a little iffy on him right now. Giants versus Rams. Boom was Cooper Kupp, only 5 receptions, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Bust was Daniel Jones, only 190 passing yards and 1 interception, no touchdowns, and 45 rushing yards. This was a boring game. But man, does Daniel Jones look bad this season. Colts versus Bears. Boom. First, apparently the Colts and Bears game since 2004 have decided the presidential election. Every time the Colts have won, it's been a Republican, and every time the Bears have won, it's been a Democrat. And the Colts won, so if Trump gets elected, that is some voodoo shit. But, boom, Bears got exposed. I mean, this was also a boring game, so there wasn't too much to go off of. Nobody really did anything. But the Bears got exposed. Colts finally a good defense that they played. They didn't get lucky with the DeAndre Swift drop this time, or Jonathan Taylor in this case. They were quite a fraudulent 3-0 team. But they, those were kind of bad teams, and they should have won those games, and they did. Colts were the first real team that they played, and they lost. Nick Foles didn't play great, which is my bust is actually just QB play in general. Rivers, 190 passing yards and 1 touchdown. That's Danny Dimes numbers there. And Nick Foles, a little bit better, was 249 yards, 1 touchdown, but 1 interception. Very defensive game. Bills versus Raiders. Boom was Derek Carr. Derek Ferrari, 322 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. That's pretty good. The Raiders stuck in that game for a decent amount of time. I was rooting for the Raiders. Bust is Devin. Is it Devin? I think it's Devin Singletary. Delvin? I don't know. Singletary, 55 rushing yards and 1 rushing TD. That's okay. That's not bad. There wasn't. This again was a game. There wasn't much wrong with it, and he was really the worst factor. And he's not like a fourth. I could have picked a 4th string wide receiver who had 1 reception for 10 yards or something, but I ain't gonna pick that. Eagles versus 49ers. Boom, Travis Fulgham, 2 receptions, 57 yards, 1 touchdown. Former Packer, kinda. He was a preseason guy. Well, preseason. He was a training camp guy. He got cut. Didn't really get a chance. But, Packers look fine, but we'll get to them. But Fulgham, he looked pretty good for the Eagles. Looked pretty good. Bust was Carson Wentz, though. 193 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 37 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. He didn't look very good, but it's also, even though they're banged up, it's still a 49ers defense who, they're still legit. Wentz, I feel bad for the guy. He had 4, you know what, Bust, instead, I'm changing it here. Bust is the Eagles' offensive line. They have 4 starters out. Like, they don't have any depth there, so what is Wentz supposed to do? I don't really blame Wentz. Like, there's a lot of bad decision making, but that's because of how much pressure he's been getting. And now for the 2 Monday night games due to COVID, Chiefs and Patriots were moved. Boom was the Patriots defense. They kept that game really close for quite a long time. I was actually rooting for the Patriots in this game because Cam Newton wasn't starting. Brian Hoyer's a good guy, so you kind of want to root for him. But they put in Stidham, and I'm like, oh, get a Stidham stiffy. Let's go. I like Stidham at Auburn, and I was rooting for him. But, it was his first real game, I think. I think they're going to start Stidham again next week because Cam won't be able to play because of COVID. He'll be quarantining for at least another game. Even if he's, which it sounds like he is, symptom-free, he's still going to be out for at least another game, I'm pretty sure. So they'll probably prepare around Stidham, and I think he'll do a little better. But Bust was Edwards-Helaire, only 16 touches. Well, not only. He had 16 touches, but only 64 yards. But that's a tribute. Patriots defense doing pretty well. They help home. That was very impressive by the Patriots defense. And now for the final game of Week 4 of the quarter season. Packers versus Falcons. You'll love to see it. Boom. Robert Big Bobby T. Tonyan, 6 receptions, 98 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think the Packers have a tight end now. Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard, they're out. Okay, use Aaron Jones. Okay, they're trying to keep him. Okay, use Robert Tonyan. Packers are winning in a lot of ways, with a lot of pieces. They had 3 undrafted guys out there, I think. 2 of them at receiver. Maybe 3 of them at receiver, actually. The only receiver that was drafted was MVS. Then you had Malik Taylor, undrafted from last year, but didn't play, only on the practice squad. You had Reggie Bagleton and Darius Shepard, all undrafted free agents. One was from the Canadian Football League, 2 of them from last year's undrafted rookies. And Aaron Rodgers just finds a way anyway. Unbelievable. I could have put him, but I wanted to put Robert Tonyan because I've loved him since his rookie year. My dad and I would watch him preseason, and we were like, I like this guy. This guy's big. He's got hands. He's balling out with Deshaun Kaiser and Tim Boyle. Woo! I know it's against the third stringers in preseason, but he could really do some work. Oh, hi, puppy. Here comes another puppy. More puppies. The bust is Calvin Ridley. He had over 100 receiving yards in the past 3 games. But Jair Alexander held him to 0 catches and 0 receptions. Or 0 catches and 0 yards. You'll love to see it. But that is Boom and Bust, Week 4 edition. I will see you for the Matchup Misfits Week 5. See ya.